Okay, hello there, everyone. I figured get it over with on Christmas Eve. Let's hope I don't have to make a video on Christmas Day. Another one for tomorrow, please, because trust me, that's the last thing I want to do, and I've done it in the past. Many of you know I've done things on Christmas Day where I've had to call out the media, but in this instance, today is actually some praise for the media, you may be wondering. And that is, believe it or not, Channel 1 briefly brought up during the In the Paper segment. Rocco Berduccio, the morning anchor, did a good job talking about it for a brief little while. The main story in the daily news this morning, you may be wondering. And that is this. So, Rocco is going to be in my thumbnail today for praise. So thank you, Rocco Berduccio. You do the right thing. See, this is why sometimes I can appreciate Rocco on the weekends when he's anchoring Mornings on One. All right? So, you may be wondering what's going on with Floyd Bennett Field. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to title the video, Migrants Make Their Way to Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. That's what we're titling this video today. And slash, another important thing, NYPD confronts man with knife in the Bronx. So that's what we're titling this video today. Because for the end of this video, we're actually going to play the New York 1 video. And Channel 1's been doing a good job covering it. In fact, I think they sent a reporter up there last night, if I'm correct, to the Bronx. I can't recall at the moment, but there was one thing that they did ignore, and that was a stabbing at Times Square. So we will get to that before I play the Channel 1 video. So, yeah, I'm just going to quickly look for the article in the Daily News this morning, and we're going to talk about the area around the Kings Plaza Mall. Now, I just want to mention, this hits close to home for me, all right? You may be wondering, why does it hit close to home? For yours truly, you may be wondering. Well, my parents' longtime friends, they have known now for, I think my mom's known her friend now for 50 plus years. My dad's only known them now for 40 plus years? Almost near that time frame. So, basically, my parents' longtime friends live in Mill Basin. And if you don't recall, we did this in random clips way earlier this year in February. My mom's specific friend, she lost her mom in February of this year. And I went to Mill Basin around the Kings Highway area to attend Shiva Call, as many of you recall from February. And if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you will know when something happens in Mill Basin, I'm going to take it very personally. So what is going on in Mill Basin, you may be wondering? Well, we have the nearby Floyd Bennett Field Migrant Center, which obviously has annoyed my parents' friends, which is understandable because close proximity. And not to mention, my mom's friend's husband just recently had a medical procedure. So this is the last thing they want to deal with right now. Alright? So let's read this article. Yep, and there's the migrants right there. And you may be wondering, how are they getting to Kings Plaza Mall? Well, it's simple. The Q35 bus. And we'll explain that as we go along here. Alright? Tired and cold with 2 toddlers in tow and a bag of groceries in hand, Barbara Granis boarded the Q35 bus in Brooklyn and headed for a couple of empty seats, telling her children to sit. But before they could take a seat, another woman on the bus stepped forward. She plopped her purse on one of the seats and used her body to block the families from sitting down. Then she lifted her leg, kicking Gordiata's 3-year-old son out of the way and sending him stumbling. The ugly display of hostility is hardly uncommon in this part of New York. Migrant families living at the Floyd Bennett Field, located at a conservative stronghold in southern Brooklyn, told the Daily News they have been cursed out, spat on, and harassed daily by disapproving neighbors. As political tensions continue to rise ahead of the upcoming 2024 presidential election, And I'm sorry if you can't read this. I'll make this a little bit bigger as we go along here. Make this a little bit bigger. All right, this is the best I can do because then it won't look as good. Political tensions continue to rise ahead of the 2024 election. The migrant tent site located on a remote peninsula on the edge of the city has emerged as a new front in the national battle over immigration policy. Now, I'm only against this because, look, do I have anything personal against the migrants? All I'm just going to say is, there's a process to legally come into this country, and they're violating that process. That's all I'm going to say on that. They want to come to New York, they need to do it legally, right? Legally. Go through the proper channel. And Biden, he's kept the border open for so long that they're coming over. Frustration and vitriol are bubbling up at bus stops, on streets at Kings Plaza Mall, and online as desperate, newly arrived migrants, most with no family or friends in New York, try to make a life for themselves after being sent out on the city to live on the isolated former airfield, largely in a Republican area. So, yeah, that's what makes this so hostile, And I want to mention, what was I going to say here? Yeah, particularly in this area, I think this is right by Erna Beinakoff's office. Yeah, if I'm correct. But, you're dealing with... I was just going to say another thing, right? A lot of them are Venezuelans. And the reason why they're calling them migrants is, obviously, we've talked about this before. I don't know if I can recall in a different video, but we have talked about the dangerous regime of Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro, who basically has plunged the country into an economic depression. All right, they've been in a depression now for, I would say, more than 5 years, because their economic depression began back in 2017, if I'm correct. So the country's been in a economic depression. And do I feel bad for these migrants that come from Venezuela? Yes, but again, they have to come through the proper legal channel. That's why we have laws, but Biden's breaking them. And that right there should be impeachable. A Facebook group called Stop Floyd Bennett Illegal Migrants has around 3,600 members. On it, residents post about interactions with migrants in the area, directing people to call 311 to report panhandling and stories of migrants knocking on residents' doors looking for help. Earlier this week, when the Kings Plaza Mall in Mill Basin was evacuated due to a bomb threat, which was later found unsustained, posts drew quick corrections to the migrants. Another post, a picture of a migrant family sitting on the sidewalk outside a store, got 140 comments, including, "Disgraceful. The neighborhood is being destroyed. Get your concealed carry. We're going to need it in mass deportations." Well, I don't know if deportation's really the answer here, folks. What needs to be done here, find out if they're from Venezuela. All right, I at least have some compassion. And that's what Curtis Leva taught me to do, And we'll play Curtis's video on Instagram as we go along here, folks. But, I want to know if they're from Venezuela. And you may be wondering, why am I so curious? Why is Andy's Randomness so curious if they're from Venezuela? These are the real migrants. They're fleeing political persecution from Nicolas Maduro. All right, have some understanding. I mean, can't they get immigration lawyers to help them? I mean, I don't support mass deportation in this case. Each story is different. If they're a criminal, all right, that's a unique circumstance. If they got to be deported for that, I understand that if they're facing charges in, Venezuela that is illegal there, not illegal here or something. But let's say you're a migrant, and let's say you've come from Venezuela, you've not committed any crimes in Venezuela. Let's say you come from Caracas. Let's just use that as an example. How would you feel that you're being made fun of because you're escaping an economic depression caused by the dangerous government that Nicolas Maduro has created. You know? See, not that many people look at it from my point of view. And then some of the migrants come from Haiti. And they're escaping political persecution in their country. But yet they come over the southern border and look what's happened at the Roosevelt Hotel. So that's just one example I can get into. Guayanas, who arrived in New York City 3 weeks ago from Venezuela with her husband and her kids, aged 3, 4, and 18, says she's been taken by the aggression and rude remarks, especially towards her children, while living at Floyd Bennett Field. Guayanas said, "Things like this happen in the streets, but you just have to ignore them because you can get in trouble. No one's going to defend us. We just have to avoid it. They want to sit down like that, act like that, you just walk away." Caroline Cordianas has lived at Floyd Bennett Field for a month. She made the trip from Venezuela to New York City with her husband, Andy Martinez, and her 2 children, Sophia and Andy. She says it's tough to watch her kids get harassed. They may not fully understand what's going on, but it's obvious that many of the tent site neighbors don't want them there. Well, again, my point of view is you have to contact a lawyer. Alright? That's why we have immigration attorneys. But apparently they don't know how to contact them, which is really unfortunate. If we had Coalition for the Homeless doing the right thing and actually referring these migrants to proper immigration lawyers, then we wouldn't be having this problem right now. Contreras said, "My daughter once unintentionally stepped on a man and the man spat on us, shouted at us, and told us things. We had to get off the bus. People also tell us we smell bad and they cover their nose. It's ugly, but I mean, you just have to leave your land, your home, your country, and of course all of that. You see a lot of that. People reject you because you come from somewhere else. There's a lot of xenophobia. They look at us rudely and treat us badly. I don't pay much attention to it now because I've already been through a lot of it." Alright, so obviously we don't want to get into politics as much. We know about Greg Abbott sending them up here, the governor of Texas. You know, it's just a real unfortunate situation. But I want to get into the panhandling situation at Kings Plaza Mall, which is so unfortunate. I mean, look what's going on here. You know, they're not really supposed to be doing that. But, you know, I'll just be honest with everybody here. You know, I've seen the migrants selling on the E-train, but you know why I don't rat them out? You know why I don't do that? One reason and one reason only. You know, there's more serious crimes in the subway system that need to be addressed. Alright? Like, what happened at Times Square the other night? And we're going to get into that in this video, I promise. Because there was an incident that occurred on the subway last night, which barely got any media attention. So we are going to briefly touch up on that in this video as well. But, you know, I want Curtis Lewa to explain to everybody here what's the particular situation going on in Mill Basin. So without further ado, we're going to play the Curtis Lewa clip. So by the way, since I'm still technically advising Curtis Lewa for off-the-record purposes, and I'm allowed to disclose that since Curtis is a public official in one sense, since he's already announced that he will be seeking the Republican nomination for mayor in 2025. He publicly announced that a couple of weeks ago in a separate Instagram post. We know that Curtis has in fact intended to seek the Republican nomination in 2025. So that's why I'm allowed to say that. So Curtis was at Floyd Bennett Field, okay? Floyd Bennett Field the other night, talking about the particular situation with the panhandling on Flatbush and Kings Highway. So without further ado, let's have Curtis properly explain the situation.
We are. You got the four tents behind us. You got all the migrants behind us. They won't let us get any closer. We've gone all throughout Marine Park in the area where the illegal aliens are going and they're begging. They're going door to door. They're outside of King's Plaza. They're outside of Walgreens, 7-Eleven, Speedway, begging. They get enough back here. They get food, clothes. We provide them with everything. We don't even provide our own homeless and emotionally disturbed and veterans. So we have got to come up with a plan, and we are working on it, so that by January 1st, we're going to force this issue. This begging has got to stop. They should not be permitted to beg. The city is not disciplining them. There's no structure. There are no rules or regulations. And we're going to force the city to do their job. Stay tuned.
So, again, Curtis Lee was discussing the particular situation at the mall. All right? Now, you may be wondering, let's take a look at this particular area. All right? Take a look at this particular area. Okay? So here's the Q35, and it goes from right here. All right? So the Q35 goes right up Flatbush Avenue, and there's the Kings Plaza Mall. All right? So pretty much, that's what they're doing here. Okay? They're pretty much panhandling, which is illegal. Shouldn't be doing that. All right? You can't be doing that outside of the mall. Now, again, the subways, again, how are you supposed to crack down on it when the migrants are moving from car to car? I've seen it this year on the E-train. I've seen it. But again, you know why I don't rat them out? What would be the point? You can't find them. You think the Transit PD wants to deal with it? No. They're too busy playing on their cell phones. Now, in terms of this area, in terms of what police precincts you got here, all right? So, the 70th precinct doesn't cover that area. So, some cases, you'll have the 61st precinct, and then you got the 63rd precinct, further up Flatbush Avenue by Brooklyn College. So that would pretty much be one of the two main precincts that serves the Mill Basin area, right by Marine Park. Right? Now, when we quickly take a look at this area, we take a look here. So let's see. I'm going to do a quick street view of the mall around here. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so that's not what we want, but you can tell there's a lot of boats here. There's always been a lot of boats here. So I'm just trying to see if I can find Flatbush Avenue here. Let's start off from right around here. Okay. Let's start off from right around here. All right. Now, starting off from here, we got Raymore and Flanagan. So this is normally a busy retail area, right? Now here's here's the marina. So I'm thinking, where do you think the migrants are panhandling? Well, it's not anywhere near the bus stop where Burlington is. No, they're not panhandling there. We're actually going to go further up Flatbush Avenue. And we're going to go right around, somewhere around here. So they're pretty much panhandling close to where Primark is. So right around this area, right around where the bus stop is. All right, so they take the Q35, and what they do is they go here. If they're not going here, guess where else they're going? You may be wondering. Yep, they're going around Flatbush Avenue. Yep. Right around here. Yeah, see, that's Avenue U, and then further down that way is right by Kings Highway. Right? So pretty much, That's where they're going. Like, where is Kings Highway? Right, that's Avenue U. Okay, so Kings Highway is further up, I think. Yeah, see, that's Kings Highway. So they're not going anywhere near the Starbucks over there. Because that's Flatlands. Now, I am very happy right now. They haven't gone further up to where Floridian Diner is. But knowing the situation, they're probably going to make their way up there. Alright? So let's see if we can find the Floridian. Where's the Floridian Diner? Somewhere up here, I think. Yeah, we'll have to find it in just a second. So, here's the problem, guys. Here's Avenue U. And you gotta go 2 blocks up. And look, in theory, the migrants can go panhandle over there. Alright? So, if I'm the management of the Floridian Plaza, I would start to take this very seriously. Because one day, you could have the migrants panhandle in the parking lot, and they could be harassing innocent people who just want to go eat at the diner. You know? And remember, the Floridians spent a lot of time renovating. It was even in the Brooklyn paper a couple of years ago. So, yeah, guys, just a really unfortunate circumstance. I mean, again, I want to find out, you know, are they from Venezuela or are they not from Venezuela? Because the ones from Venezuela need to be the top priority right now. If I was doing this operation, you know, there has to be some major changes to the right to shelter law. I'm not saying, you know, I was a little bit harsh at first. I was like, should we get rid of the right to shelter law? I think you need changes to it. There has to be some modifications to the right to shelter law. Because supposedly now Adams is telling them they got 30 days to stay in this shelter and then they got to go somewhere else. But it's difficult right now. It really, really is. So briefly, I want to mention a couple of things here. There was a protest yesterday for Palestine on 5th Avenue yesterday, which basically this was a nationwide movement. And what made things worse yesterday was the fact that there was another protest outside of the Roosevelt Field Mall in Long Island. Alright? So this began yesterday afternoon at 5th Avenue and 59th Street. And the pro-Israel counter-protesters gathered in response. No arrest was made during the protest. However, I think in Long Island somebody did get arrested. But yeah, that got ignored. And then look at this. We had a bad accident on the FDR Drive. That got ignored by Channel 1. Let's see where this happened. Thankfully, Channel 7 covered it.
New this morning, police are investigating a crash on the FDR. One driver ended up in the water in the Harlem River. Police say they removed one victim out of the water near East 106th Street early this morning when this happened. Police could be seen also moving a car that was totaled. One person was taken to Weill Cornell Hospital. No update right now on their condition. Police are also trying to figure out how that person ended up in the water.
Now back.
So I'm trying to see where in the world that this happened. Oh, okay, so this happened near 102nd Street, so pretty much near the Upper East Side. Alright, so the victim was taken to Weill Cornell. See, that's a good place to go to. Alright, going to Weill Cornell was actually very good because they have a very good trauma center. See, you get into a bad incident in the Upper East Side, you have more hospital space per capita. Just saying. So let's get to the awful incident that happened last night at Times Square. There was an incident in transit which Channel 1 didn't even bother to cover.
A man is in the hospital after he was stabbed. This happened in the Times Square subway station on a staircase near the mezzanine at 42nd and 8th Avenue. This is where riders take the A and C line. Sources tell Eyewitness News he was stabbed as a suspect was trying to rob him. The victim is 23 years old. He was stabbed in his chest. He's expected to recover. He's now at Bellevue Hospital. Police took 2 suspects into custody. A third man, believed to be the actual attacker, got away.
I gotta give the cops their praise at Times Square. And trust me, the cops gotta be on their A game around New Year's. Because with potential pro-Palestine protests that they're thinking of doing next Sunday, you cannot let your guard down going into the new year. You really can't, you know? Okay, so to wrap up this video, we are going to watch the New York One report, well, Channel 1, on what happened in the Bronx, which was so unfortunate. A man held his own mom to knife point. And this ended up being an NYPD officer-involved shooting. So really unfortunate, guys. So that's how we're going to wrap up today's video. Again, guys, let's just hope and pray I don't have to do this tomorrow. On actual Christmas Day. For peace and joy on earth. For one day, all I'm asking, please. I don't want to hear about any crazy crime news happening on Christmas. And we just have one day. One day. Where the police scanners are quiet. Just one day. You know? I mean, maybe there'll probably be fire calls because, you know, fires are bound to happen this time of the year. But, you know, please just let's have one day for peace and joy on earth. For all of us. Alright, so without further ado, let's watch the Channel 1 report.
Around 11:15 Saturday morning, the NYPD says 2 officers, who have each been on the force just over 2 years, showed great composure as they confronted a 30-year-old man who had his 45-year-old mother in a headlock with a large carving knife.
Our officers gave numerous commands to drop the knife. However, our officer discharged his firearm, striking the subject in the head, and saved the mother's life. Today was a complete tragedy during this holiday season. Thank God our cops got here quickly and saved this family from further harm.
When the officers arrived on the 13th floor of this apartment building on Creston Avenue, Shell says they first noticed the suspect's 19-year-old girlfriend who had visible slice wounds to her face and who came screaming out of the apartment. Soon after, the officers noticed the knife-wielding man and his mother, who was bleeding.
The subject told his family member he was going to kill his family and kill him. And our 2 young cops got here quickly, showed their composure, their train kicked in, saved mom's life, and saved this family's life.
The NYPD has not yet released body cam video that officials say recorded the frantic scene. Tenant Richard Givens also lives in the building, and he says he was both saddened and scared to hear of the shooting.
How do you make sense of this? You know, right before the holidays.
Givens says the father of the man who was killed also lives in the building, but on a different floor than his son. Givens said he was unaware that the shooting had happened when around 4 p.m. he had an encounter with the father of the man who had died.
I was actually getting on the elevator with the father of the son. But something told me to go get my mail, so I went in and got my mail, and then somebody approached me and told me exactly where that happened. Because I didn't understand why he didn't hold the door open, you know? But now I know he was disturbed.
And as the investigation continues, police say neither of the responding officers were hurt, and they say both the man's mother and girlfriend were taken to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. In the Bronx, Ron Lee, New York 1.